What's up, guys? Since today is the first day of autumn, I thought this was the perfect moment to show you this DIY. So in today's video, I'll be showing you how to make your own leg warmers. I made two different styles to show you of what's possible, but you can create your own kind of style. It's totally up to you. First, I'll be showing you how to make these fake sock leg warmers. The things you will need are yarn, a crochet needle, I used a number 7, and some scissors. We start off by taking our yarn and loop it twice around your finger. Now pretend this is number 1 and that's number 2. Take the number 1 and pull it over number 2. Then take number 2 and pull it over your finger. Take your crochet needle and place it where your finger used to be and then pull it a little tighter. Don't pull it too tight, but just keep a little space in between. We move on by looping the yarn around the needle and pull it through the hole. This is how you make your loose crochet spaces? I don't really know how you call them. I think I'll just be calling them stitches. So yeah, I used around 22 loose stitches to make it fit around my leg. I think the easiest way to measure this is just to measure it around your leg, and if it fits, it's the right size for you. When you made enough loose stitches, it should look a little bit like this. Now we will flip the piece to the other side and just do a regular crochet stitch. As you can see, you have two kind of yarn thread above and one thread below. I always make sure I put the two threads above and the one thread below, and that's how I know I'm stitching the right way. Then I loop my yarn around, pull it through the hole, loop around it again and pull it to the two holes. This is just a regular crochet stitch. So again, I'll pull it through the hole with the two yarn above, loop my yarn around the needle, pull it through, loop it around again and pull it through the two holes. I'm not really the best person to explain this to you, so if I'm not clear enough, then please go and search for someone online who can definitely help you better than I can. After you crochet your whole row, your piece should look a little bit like this. Then it's extra important to always stitch one loose crochet at the end. This will make sure the piece will look like one square and not like an inward pyramid shape. Triangle English. So as I'm showing you here, you have a front and a back piece of yarn. For this type of leg warmer, I only stitched through the first thread of the yarn. This would make a really fun pattern and it looked a little bit different than just your everyday regular crochet stitch. So you poke it through the first thread of yarn, loop it around, pull it through, loop it around again and pull it through the two stitches. And that's basically it. And when I say it's basically it because I just kept on doing this the entire leg warmer process. Leg warmer? That makes sense. So yeah, I just kept on doing this the entire project. And I always made sure after I closed a row, I always finished it off by just one loose crochet stitch. I made my leg warmer around 9 rows long. That's the length I really wanted for the leg warmer to be. And once you're done, it should look a little bit like this. Right now the only thing left to do is to bring the two sides together. So in order to do that, I just fold my piece in half and used a regular crochet stitch to bring them together. So in this case, I just poked it through the two holes of each side, then looped it around, pulled it through, looped it around again, and pulled it through the two holes left. And I did this until I reached the end of the piece. To finish the piece off, I just made sure I had enough thread left, took out the needle and took my scissors to cut the thread. I pulled away the rest of the yarn that wasn't needed anymore, and I made a knot with the other piece of thread that was still left from the beginning. Make sure you won't tie your knot too tight or it might not fit your leg anymore. Now just flip your piece inside out and you're pretty much done. The only thing left to do is to create another. Now let's move on to style number 2. These type of leg warmers are a little bit more high and meant to fit under higher boots. I also attached cute buttons to these leg warmers, but that's a totally optional choice. The things you'll need for these leg warmers are yarn, a crochet needle, again I used number 7, some scissors, and optional some buttons, a regular needle, and some matching thread with your yarn. I'm starting off just the same as I did with the other leg warmers. I just took my yarn and looped it twice around my index finger, marked it 1 and 2, took number 1 and placed it over number 2, and took number 2 and wrapped it around my finger. I took my crochet needle and placed it where my finger was and pulled the yarn a little tighter. Because this leg warmer was supposed to go a little higher than the other one, I made around, I think, 28 loose stitches to make it fit around my leg. Just like with the previous leg warmers, I made sure I had the two pieces of yarn facing upwards, and I just did a regular crochet stitch during the entire row. After you're done with your first row, it should look a little bit like this. And then once again, don't forget to just crochet one loose stitch at the end before you flip your piece around. Now for these type of leg warmers, we're just going to use a different stitch. As you can see, with this kind of yarn, we have very clear holes in which we're going to poke our needle through. It's very important before you do this that you loop one around, then poke it through, loop one around again and pull it through the hole. Now you have 3 loose stitches on your needle. You're going to loop around your needle, get them through the first 2 stitches, then you're left with just 2 on your needle, loop one around again and pull it through the 2 left remaining. Now in this case it didn't really work out for me because my needle is actually a little bit too small for this kind of thread, so I just made sure I started over to show you guys again how it's done. So you loop one around, poke it through the hole, loop one around again, pull it through the hole. Now you have 3 loose stitches on your needle. You loop one around your needle again, pull them through the first 2 stitches on your needle. So now you have 2 left remaining, loop one around again, and pull them through the 2 left on your needle. This stitch is also known as the double crochet stitch, so if again I wasn't clear enough, please make sure you just check out another tutorial about how to do that. This stitch might be a little bit difficult, but once you just go on, you'll get the hang of it. Once you're done with your first row, it should look a little bit like this. Don't forget to also just make 1 loose crochet stitch at the end before you flip it around. For the last row, I just used the double crochet stitch again, the entire row. Once I was done, my piece looked a little bit like this. As you can see, I'm also just folding these 2 pieces in half and just use a regular crochet stitch to bring these 2 sides together. Because at this point I still had to make a second leg warmer, I decided to make it this short since my yarn was pretty much running out. If I had more yarn, I would have made a 3rd row with a double crochet stitch, because now it's just a little bit too short and sometimes it pops out of my boots. It's not really great, but you get the idea of it. Once you've reached the end, you pull out your yarn a bit, take your scissors, cut the thread, and pull out the excess thread you won't be needing anymore. Then you take your 2 pieces of yarn and tie a knot. Flip your leg warmer around and it should look a little bit like this. You can just stop at this point and keep it like this. I just made a little button on top of it. I cut some thread and I took out my needle as well. Here you can see my unfocused, very sad struggle with getting the thread through the eye of the needle. Let's just say it wasn't working out. Once it finally did work out, I took my needle and poked it through the yarn. Because a tiny little knot won't do it since the thread is way too thin to keep it up, I just poked it through at the back again and made a knot at the back of the leg warmer. Once the thread was secure and tight, I took my button out and stitched it onto the leg warmer. Once I was done, I made sure the thread was secure and tight at the back of the leg warmer, and I cut the thread off. And that's pretty much it for this leg warmer. Only thing left to do again is to make a second one. Make sure to check out my next video, in which I'm going to show you how to make this cute choker and more. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, and thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Bye!